Hey everybody, it's Angela and I am just going to do a quick layout today. I was inspired by some products on my desk that I was putting away. One of them was this Hello Spring collection by Pebbles that I got at Tuesday morning here not too long ago. And I thought the colors were perfect with this photo of my granddaughters, and they are just sitting in a shopping cart at the store looking so cute. And the older one is hugging on the younger one. And there are a lot of colors in this. The shopping cart is kind of more of a hot pink. Allison's shirt is a little more to the red. There are some cleaning supply bottles on the shelf behind them that have more teals and greens. So a lot of color going on, but most of them were represented in this collection. So I'm just pulling out a bunch that I like. Not exactly sure if I'm going to use them all at this point. I think I wind up leaving out the green chevron. But right here I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do besides mat the photo with these papers? And I decide to use this flower punch. And I'm just looking around on it to see who makes it. I thought maybe it was Marvy or whoever, but I couldn't find any wording on this whole punch as to who manufactured it. If I got it, it might have been something I got at Oriental Trading a long time ago. I don't know. It's been in my stash for quite a while, so I thought I'd pull it out. And I'm just doing 3 flowers from each of the different colored papers. And this is the green one that I decide later not to use, but I go ahead and punch 3 flowers out of it. And I have that pink grid paper in the background, and I think that I'm going to use that as the background here, but I do go to something a little more white in the future because it just wasn't working for me. I wasn't feeling it. And so I decide to use these butterflies just because they bring in all the colors that I'm using, and I make a mat with that. And I just trim it so you can kind of tell they're still butterflies. And in the picture, Allison's kind of on the bottom left, or on the upper right, and Emma's on the bottom left. And so they're kind of making a little bit of a diagonal line in the photograph. So I want to kind of follow that with my embellishments. And I think about putting them loose, and then I decide, no, I think I want to cluster them a little bit tighter. And here's where I go ahead and switch papers, and I take this other grid from the Pink Paisley Hey Kid collection, and it is just a little bit more white. It has a little bit of a teal line like a normal graph paper, and I just liked it. The other one just was a little bit too much pink. So I'm going to put a little bit of thread behind the photo, so I pull some green and some pink out of my stash, and I'm just going to make a couple puddles of that to put underneath my photograph. I go ahead and stick that down, and I leave the adhesive back from the edge of the photo, so I still have room to tuck things underneath the photo mat without getting stuck into the glue. Now I just want to spread the colors of flowers around so that I have some of each color represented on the top and on the bottom. And then the other 2 products that inspired me that were sitting on my desk were these 2. This is what is that? Is that Dear Lizzie, I think? American Crafts words, and I had never used it. I pulled it out a couple times to use on a layout, and then it never made it on here, so I'm so happy to get one of these onto a layout. And I just picked that So in Love because the pink is really close. Like I said, that's what really inspired me when I saw the paper and these 2 packs of embellishments on my desk. I was like, whoa, those go so great together. And this is a Project Life Becky Higgins chipboard pack. So I'm just pulling the sheets out so I can, play with those a little bit. And I'm trying to decide where I want my title. I'm thinking I want it down here at the bottom of my photo, so that's where I'm kind of starting out, but it winds up moving. And then I just take some of this Scotch tacky glue, just putting a little bit in the center of each of my flowers. Just putting some of that pink down at the bottom, and then I put some of the darker pink at the bottom of the photograph too. And here's where I go, well, maybe I don't want that title there. And then I decide that I kind of like it over here on the side because you can read it a little better. And that I'll just leave my embellishments more in that diagonal line. So I go ahead and get the title adhered down. I just put little dots of glue on there. I don't need to put it over the whole thing. Just a few dots on there will hold it good enough. Get these other ones. I put some below the photograph and some up above on top of the photograph just to kind of integrate everything. And there I've still kind of followed a loose kind of diagonal. And now I just want to play with these chipboard pieces out of the Becky Higgins pack. And I just love the colors. And I love that it brought in just a tiny pop of yellow. I want a little bit of yellow on there, but not a lot. I want to stick with mostly the pinks and greens. I like that large chipboard sentiment. Then they have a lot of small florals and little hearts that I kind of dot around among the flowers. I tried to get this butterfly to work, but it was just a little bit too dark. And so it was just standing out a little bit too much, and if it would have been smaller I probably would have used it. And it looks okay here when I'm moving it around, but something didn't quite look right when I was at my desk. Isn't that always the way? You see it on screen and you're like, hey, that looked better there. So now I'm looking through my word phrase stickers and I pull out my homemade phrase stickers that I showed in a previous video, and I'm going to go ahead and use some of those. There they are, and I'm just going to cut a few out. I used some pink distress ink in the background, which matches pretty well on there, but I wind up using the sentiments that I like are mostly white, so I wind up using those. I think that one says adorable, like precious moment, and things like that. And I think I actually use another one that says so much fun, and I stick it down on there not realizing that chipboard piece in the middle of my title says so much fun. There, I stuck down, so I have so much fun on there twice, but I'm okay with that. Just reiterates the fact that at that moment they were having so much fun. They were probably bickering 5 minutes later, but right there they were pretty happy. And I just want to put one of those word strips at the top, and then one below my title and one to the bottom of my photo, just to make a nice little triangle of those. I decide to put a little pink thread up here at the top along with the green thread that I have. And then I'm going to put some of this green thread down below this large chipboard piece. So I'm liking that. So I go ahead and I put a little extra glue below the photograph just to hold that thread in place. I checked the chipboard. There are a few of them. It's pretty sticky, but there were a few of them that were over some thread or some of the die cuts that were having a problem sticking. So I just go ahead and put a little wet glue on them as well. So I'm really liking how this is, and I haven't used a lot, just 2 embellishment packs and some homemade phrase stickers, and that's about it. So I go ahead and decide to cut down my paper a little bit and mat it. And I want to use some more butterflies to kind of bring in that left-hand side, because right now it's looking a little lost over on the left-hand side. There's just not as much embellishment over there. So I think at this point that I'm going to mat it on this polka dot and then put a strip of the butterfly paper along that left-hand edge. So I go ahead and I just trim a strip of that out, and I want to put the butterflies so that they're facing into the layout, you know, and drawing your eye back in instead of having them flying out of the layout. So here they are, they're flying in. I really like that because it brings in all the colors in the layout. It directs your eye into the layout and it just gives some decoration over on that left-hand side. So I'm just going to make the butterfly strip the same height as my interior page. But it's getting a little lost on that polka dot and I like the pink better, so I'm going to go back to my paper stack and pull out the full sheet of that pink and use that as my mat. So I really like that. Kind of frames everything in and brings some color all around. So I'm just going to use my ATG gun to put a little adhesive. It was giving me a little bit of problem not wanting to stick. So it looks like I've put tons and tons of adhesive, but some of the times I went over it, there was no adhesive actually coming off. So I just line that up over on the left and then leave a little mat going around the top right and bottom side in that pink. And then just to kind of pull everything together, I want to put some sprinkles in pink. And the only thing I really had was some Distress ink and worn lipstick, but it's the dauber, so you can't really dip a paintbrush into it or anything. So I put some onto some packaging and water it down a little bit, and then I'm just trying to get it to run off and drip. So I just kind of pull some of those off the plastic, and that just brings kind of a looseness and reiterates that diagonal line. And then that is pretty much the whole layout. I will just go and take a pen here and do a little bit of journaling on the bottom of this. And there's already in that Hey There chipboard piece and in the little bodies and antenna of the butterflies a little bit of black. So I'm just going to use my black pen to do a little bit of journaling. And then that is the whole layout. So this was a really quick one, not a lot of supplies on this, but it was really fun to do, and I'm glad I was able to capture this little memory of the girls, because like I said in the journaling, it's not long and they won't be able to fit together sitting in a shopping cart, and these years just go by so quickly. So I wanted to make sure to get that into the scrapbook. So here are a couple of close-ups. And you can see some of the chipboard pieces, some of the die-cut flowers, and the homemade word sentiment stickers, and the thread on there. And yeah, very simple, very quick, and a lot of fun to do. So if you guys have any questions or comments about this, just let me know down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye.